Okay, for now, wow. Thanks. I do know. Okay. I do pro, no for a while. Okay. What is the correct one? I do what? That's what they call it. Yes, that one. Uh-huh. Okay. Sure. Whatever they allow them. And then many things is there. The good thing is that the format is there. Yes, one has to be careful. Though. One has to be careful. Gbogbo orú àga ìbáyìí nísìnyí, ìbáàgbà bí ilẹ̀ ọ̀tọ̀ ti padà. A lè kó fúnra wa. Ọba ti fẹ́ kú.
Yeah, good morning. Please, all presenters, please submit your PowerPoint to the technical crew just at the center of the hall there. Presenters, all those who are yet to present their papers, to submit the PowerPoint slides to the technical crew just at the center of the hall here. You can see them there, conspicuously located. Please resubmit. Please, to be on the safer side, because they said they don't have any, and it can be funny. Please, can we have the presenters to come forward? The presenter, this first row should be for them. Presenters. It's better you continue, sir. SecGen. Yeah, good morning, all. By way of prayer, can we stand for the national anthem? And immediately after that, we are going to have the second stanza too, as a way of opening prayer. Okay, please, let's stand for the national anthem. We are all Nigerians, so I think we should be able to do it on our own. Okay, at the count of 1, 2, at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The second stanza. Yeah, thank you. We can have our seat. We are just continuing the yesterday technical session, so there is no change per se. I want to invite to the I table the chairman to continue with the work he was doing yesterday. Let me invite Professor Elochukwu Moka to the I table. Can we put our hands together to have our chairman? Yes, sir. I say it's continuation. I also want to invite the rapporteur in person of Surveyor Dr. Akinroye. He's from the Cardinal Polytechnic Cardinal, a chief lecturer. Also with him, we have Surveyor Goodwill Pepple. So please just join them. He's from a practitioner from River State. From River State University of Science and Technology, have you? Okay, from River State University, Port Harcourt. Yeah, please, we are yet to the president in absentia, fellows of the Nigerian Institute of Surveyors, the corporates and other members, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You can recall that yesterday we are unable to take some of the presentations. And I believe the presenters are here. They have labored so hard to put the things together, at least to whet our appetite to give us the what we actually need for us to continue practicing the way we should be practicing. So I want to recognize all of them. And of course, I want them to come forward. All our presenters, they should come forward so that we should be able to have the business of the day proper. Thank you very much. Let me hand over to the chairman, who is going to direct the affairs.
Thank you. Prof. Alim, I want the president in council, though not yet here, fellows and colleagues, like we had from the chairman technical committee, that this is supposed to be a continuation of what we started yesterday. We have preferred another person to chair today's session, but for some reasons, I was again invited to continue. Some of the papers that were supposed to have been taken yesterday, we are not taken. And today, we have more papers, and we believe that we are going to do justice to all the papers. Some of you that had wanted to ask questions yesterday, but because of the time constraints, we are not able to do that. Maybe today you have opportunity of asking your questions and also contributing in enriching what we are going to give out to the public as per what this conference is bringing up. So I want to thank those of us that have come up early enough. I know that later others will join. So you are all welcome. Now, yesterday we missed the paper. Just on to page 24 of your program, not the business report. Just get out your program. You turn to page 24. There we have the papers listed, as well as the presenters and their affiliations. So I don't know whether Aloha, who is supposed to represent those presenting for paper 3, is around. I'm sure that Professor F.I. Okeke is not there. Uzodima is not there. So do we have Aloha around? So that paper won't be taken. And we know the implication. The implication is that we cannot publish it. Once a paper is not presented in a conference like this, and we receive reactions, it won't go into our publication. So the fact that they have been listed does not qualify it to be published eventually. So we also have on page 25 Sika, Urupabo, and AKSN. I don't know whether any of them is around. Is he around? Okay. You will turn to page 26. These are the papers listed to be presented today. Enwelozo, OV, to the president, can please come up. Then we have the second paper listed for today. Diane, I think I saw her. We have Assessing Gender Parity in Surveying and Mapping Profession in Nigeria. Okay. Then we have Feature Extraction and Classification of UAV Images over your town. We have Yola, Olani, and Shitu. Do you have any of them around? Eh? You just arrived. Okay, please come up. We have strategies for effective harmonization and implementation of the 2020 SOCON guidelines for the conduct of survey practice in Nigeria. Olu Borode, is he here? Are you the one? You are welcome. Then we have the last paper, a proposal for the indexing of Nigerian Journal of Surveying and Geoinformatics in top international journal databases, Chukwuocha AC. I learned he was around. I've not seen him yet. Is he around today? I know that you've been in this conference. Okay. We are all welcome again to this technical session. And the rule is that they are going to use 10 minutes to make their presentation. We listen, like we apologized yesterday, we don't have the abstracts with us, but we have been promised that they will be uploaded, maybe with the papers, so you can always access them later. But for now, we have to listen carefully to what they're going to present, jot down your questions. At the appropriate time, we take the questions that we pose to the presenters. So thank you for that. So we want to make adequate use of our time so that we can address all the issues that will be raised. So we go to page 26. We take the first paper, car park suitability mapping in Federal Polytechnic Oko, Anambra State, using geospatial techniques. So we want to call Enwelozo to come up and make your presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, my learned. All you people slept well.
I don't have that time to sleep.
Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol to present the study which I already presented to my school, and the rector has already approved it. I received call 2 days ago that the project is going to kick off when I'm done with the AGM. This topic is based on car parking suitability mapping for Federal Polytechnic Oko using geospatial technique. I'm here once again. My name is Enwelozo Ogochukwu Vivian. Now, the major problem in our school and also in the university, monotechnics and polytechnics, even the College of Education, is concerned with lack of inadequate or persistent parking spaces. This problem has caused a lot of damages in the school and causes a lot of traffic jams in the school. So I decided to investigate into this problem to know actually what the problem is all about. Then this research is going to help us to evaluate the demand for parking space in the Federal Polytechnic Oko, Anambra State. And through this investigation, we are going to utilize the parking space available and the survey of unused land areas, users' behavioral parking facilities, the mode of parking, and proposed a systematically designed parking lots with the unused land available within the institution. So which we also will analyze the results, putting price tagging, and as well what causes the monopoly parking in school. Next slide. Please, next slide. Please, can you roll these things on slide instead of trying to make it all to work together? Because I think all these animations that are put there may be making it to be slower. Please. Then this systematic parking proposed design map, which I have already created and submitted in the school, was downloaded through the use of satellite imagery, through the Google Earth Pro, and field operations were also used. Then we used the ArcGIS 10.3 to do the map embellishment and other digitizing process. Next slide. We have the keywords, which are the words constraints in vehicle parking, monopoly parking services, satellite imagery, proposed design parking loads. Please, now can you just run it in slides? It will be easier. Now, introduction. We say that in Oko Polytechnic, we have a lot of conjunctions. Even there are some buildings that are existing, that are occupying space, but is not in use. You know, nowadays, some of these management, like the rector, can come in, they can award contracts. After awarding contracts, those projects that have been done by the past rector, the incumbent one will not continue with it. So at times they leave it, it starts deteriorating. And those things occupy spaces where we can create these parking lots for the staff and students. So next slide. Next slide. The aim of this work is for us to assess the land use pattern, the general structure of the school, and use the geospatial technique to produce a design map of parking lots in the Federal Polytechnic Oko. Next slide. For us to achieve this, we have some certain objectives we set out. We need to acquire a high-resolution satellite imagery of the school and check in the existing former parking lots within the area if it's in existence. Then we have to ascertain the area of the institution using the ground survey method, and we have to examine the land use pattern that influences the parking activities and used land available. And we also issue questionnaires to staff and students to know the number of staff that owns vehicle and the number of students that also owns tricycle or motorcycle at least. But nowadays now, students, they enter into Yahoo business and they have even sophisticated cars more than the lecturers. So we have our study area. These are study area. Oko is one of the city in Orumba, not local governments, which consists, they are all farmers and hub business activities. Then this Oko Polytechnic generates its name from its sister called Ekulobi, which lies east of Oko. Geographically, you can find the latitude between 06 degrees to 06 degrees 30 minutes and the longitude at 07 30 east. Then it's about 60 kilometers away from the capital town, Oka. And it has an average land area of 9.8 square kilometer, which is about 3% of the total land in Anambra State. And this population was given to us from the National Population Commission, and the number is 26,325. Then Oko is just a peaceful community with its neighboring community as well. And it has other neighboring communities like Amokbala, I've mentioned Ekulobia, Ndiowu, Omo, and Isiofia. Then we also have the information, the satellite imagery of this this our school.
Just you learn is how to, as we don't dwell on.
Okay, now we have our what methodology used. Here we downloaded the satellite imagery, processed it using the polygon menu, and also the field participation. We used total station and as well as GPS to run the information to provide the perimeter survey of the school, since we don't have any plan or map of the school since when we are employed. So we have to generate that for us to do this work effectively. Next slide. Then data analysis. In data analysis, we take the population of the students and that of the lecturers. That of the staff in the university. That of the student is about 7,000, and that of the staff is about 5,000. And from our analysis, we made that, from the questionnaire, we made that 1,070 own cars, then 200 owns motorcycles and tricycles. Then we have bypass that surrounds the area. We have a Mamokbala bypass, then we have a Kulobe bypass, and we have a Oko to Oka bypass. Then, in this land use, excuse me, this is next slide. Just give us next slide. Now, in Federal Polytechnic Oko, we have different departments or different schools that are centered within the main campus where I'm carrying out this study. So this main campus, we have our administrative block where the rector stays is Aso Rock. Then we have administrative block 1 and 2. Then we have environmental design where I've come from. Then we have other certain departments. Then we have other activities, calls activities going there whereby they have a market called Eke. They have every other thing else. Sir, please now, please, sir.
Don't worry, they are. Come and you address them. So thank you for that presentation. You know, one of the things we learn is to know how to present your work, what you have done. It took you maybe days and months. So please. So we take the next paper, Assessing Gender Parity in Surveying and Mapping Profession in Nigeria. To be presented by DM. Okay. Your name, please. Olatunji. Olatunde, okay, sorry. That's why we have this.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Chairman, rapporteurs, fellows, NIS executives, professional colleagues, and every other person here present. I am Molatunde Efo, and my co-authors are Denye AS and Olatunde MB. We are presenting on the topic, Assessing Gender Parity in Surveying and Mapping Profession in Parts of Nigeria. Gender parity has to do with the relative equality in terms of numbers and proportions of women and men. And it is often calculated as a ratio of female to male, of females to male values using given indicator. The indicator in this case has to do with the surveying and mapping profession, and can be discovered that in every aspect of the society, women contributions, if they are not brought to the forefront, then that society will have a lot of troubles and problems. So it is therefore important that this profession, surveying and mapping, should look at how women can be adequately included in their scheme of activities. The statement of the problem has to do with the surveying and mapping profession is masculine in nature, because it is science-based in the sense that it deals with a lot of mathematics. The principle of operation is rigorous. The principle of practice involves vigor and energy. So from that angle, it is looked at as a course that is meant for the males and not the females. Now, what is the aim of this study? The study aims at to assess gender parity, in surveying and mapping profession in Nigeria. The objectives are to assess the ratio of females to males students in Nigeria. Also, the objective has to do with to know the total number of women in surveying, that is comparing the number of women to men in the surveying profession. And lastly, to assess the ratio of women representations in council, committees, NIS executive, and other bodies of the profession. Then the methodology that was adopted has to do with gathering data, both primary and secondary, through personal field survey, formal interview, and social survey. For us to be able to build on this, we looked at getting the number of students, even that are in tertiary institutions, polytechnics, and universities. From our study, we were able to get data for students from 3 polytechnics and 3 universities. The polytechnics that were looked at are Federal Polytechnic Auchi, Federal School of Surveying Oyo, and Federal Polytechnic Ado-Ekiti. Then the 3 universities that were equally looked at the number of students, looking at the females to males in the university, has to do with University of Benin being the first one. The second, we looked at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, and also the third one is Rivers State University of Technology, Rivers. The selection of these schools were not based on zoning or political region, but it was based on availability of information where we could easily get data that will enable us to carry out the analysis. Alongside these polytechnics and these universities, we also looked at some bodies of the profession, like the council members, how many males are there, how many females, the fellow bodies, how many are males, how many are females. We look at the National Association of Surveying Lecturers, how many males, how many females, just like that. And we're able to come up with some analysis from our findings, which we presented in form of a pie chart and also in percentage. For the Polytechnic, we got the data for the number for female and male for ND1, ND2, HND1, and HND2 for these the 3 polytechnics. And we're able to arrive at a pie chart that gave us 62 degree for female and 298 degree for the males, which amount to 17% females to 83% males. Then when we got to the university, we had a pie chart also that shows that we had a 49 degree for the females and 311 degree for the males. which gave us a percentage of 14% females to 86% males. For council, NIS executive, WIS, and the National Association of Surveying Lecturers, Fellows, and other committees that we looked at, we had 26 degree to 334 degree, which amounted to 7% females to 93% females. Males. Now, from the analysis, the conclusion therefore shows that despite this body, that is women in surveying, which is a subgroup of National Institution of Surveyors, NIS, despite their creating awareness to the general public about the profession surveying, most importantly to the girl child, it has not really gotten enough impact to be able to encourage more females into the profession. So the disparity is still there. And we have equally discovered that if gender parity is giving adequate attention to this noble profession, it will go a long way to help the profession, even in sustaining e-governance in the profession and also in Nigeria at large. A practical example was what we saw on Tuesday here, when the females gave their presentation. We could see the performance and their presentation that it's worth commending. That was the treasurer and the financial secretary. I also want to mention here that women have done excellently well, even at emerging as best graduating students in their time when they were students. And also women have equally emerged as best students in their professional exam, which I have benefited. I am an example of one. I was one of the best in my set. Also, I was best even at my graduating, when I was graduating. So it therefore means that women are not, they are measuring up to the men in this profession. So we therefore ask that we should be well accommodated, represented, and projected in the profession. Therefore, the recommendations are there, but I will just mention two, which says that we should have a conducive environment and policies should be made for women to be adequately represented. And lastly, that policies should be made deliberately to favor women in the profession. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Olatunde, you rounded up by saying that you want policy to favor women and put men at disadvantage. Well, the questions will come at the appropriate time. You have raised issue that, well, let's see how it's going to turn out, that we may not be able to grapple with. You know, some professions accommodate women and they've succeeded in driving men out. If you go to teaching profession, you don't see, the men you see there are people, disciplinarians, they carry cane around. They have been herded out of primary school, secondary school, even in the universities. They are pushing. One day, we may not see males there. Okay. Thank you for that presentation. So just wait for the questions when they will come. We take the next one, feature extraction and classification of UAV images over your town, Nigeria, using point cloud filtering algorithm. It will be taken by Diti Yola.
Good morning. All protocols duly observed. I'm here this morning to present a paper titled Feature Extraction and classification of UAV images over your town using point cloud filtering algorithm. I am Iola Olufemi Felix. Other members of the research team are Olaniyi Salah Said and Shitu Ibrahim, all of us from Federal School of Surveying, Oyo. UAV, that's Oman Area Flight, is one of the components of Oman systems. And Oman systems are powered vehicles that do not carry human operators. UAV has been with us for quite some time, and we have been using it for mapping purposes. I want to emphasize here that having UAV is one thing, using it correctly is another thing. When you collect or acquire images with a UAV and you don't know how to handle the data, honestly, the images are just ordinary photographs. So this study look at the Oman area vehicles and the other components of Oman systems are Oman ground vehicles, Oman surface vehicles, and Oman underwater vehicles. They are capable of different applications, even in surveying and mapping. And one advantage is that the vehicles can deliver high spatial and temporal resolution for mapping applications. And the applications include agriculture, post-disaster mapping in engineering construction. The study look at how to acquire data and be able to process it and extract useful information from it. We discover a lot of information are hidden there. So researchers should be knowledgeable on how to handle the process so that we can get accurate geospatial information from the products. And some of the geospatial information derivable from UAV images are the orthophoto, 3D point cloud, that's a photogrammetrically derived point cloud, different from LiDAR point cloud. Other information we can derive from the products include digital surface models. That's it will show the natural terrain with all the features. Then digital terrain model, the earth, and contour maps, 3D texture mesh. The study area is part of Oyo town, and Oyo comprises of 3 local government areas: the Oyo East, Oyo West, and Atiba. So the study include parts of these 3 local government areas, and methodology are adopted for the study. We use some hardware and software. The hardware, like the equipment, is a Phantom 4 Pro mobile workstation. The software, we use a global mapper, Pix4D mapper, and ArcGIS Pro 2.8 version. The project, this study started with mission planning using a Pix4D mapper and using a Google Earth image. We set some parameters, and after mission planning, the vehicle was launched to collect images of the area in 4 segments. At the end of the mission, a total number of 1,399 images were captured at a spatial resolution of 3 centimeters with altitude of 105 meters. These images were loaded in Pix4D with ground control stations, and they were processed. At the end of the day, we got some products: the orthophoto map, 3D point cloud, and then digital surface model for the area. So the team exported orthophoto generated with a 3D point cloud to ArcGIS Pro for further processing and analysis. So in ArcGIS, using the tools there, the first classification was to separate grant returns from non-grant returns. Grant returns can be further processed using spatial interpolation to generate digital surface model, digital elevation model, slope and aspect. Then the non-grant returns can be further processed so that you can extract other features, buildings, road surfaces, vegetation, depending on what you have in the study area. Then in our classification, we have to adopt a standard code set by the American Society of Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing. In that standards code, code 2 is for grant returns. Low vegetation code 3, medium vegetation code 4, high vegetation code 5, building code 6, water bodies code 9, and there are other codes reserved for users to define depending on what you want to do. But the first operation was to separate the point cloud to grant and non-grant returns. In the area, we classified the study area into 5 classes. You can see the grant returns with code 2 is 49.56%, low vegetation 5.0%, high vegetation 26.7%, building 8.7%, and the road services 9.32%. Let's look at the product. Next slide. These are the products generated from the study. You can see the orthophoto, and the orthophoto are the images geometrically corrected. On this orthophoto, you can take measurement accurately. The other side is the 3D point cloud, and this one is showing a point cloud X, Y, Z with a color information. You can see the building there. This one was, the point cloud was further processed to get other information. Next slide. The ground returns, you can see the ground returns here. And you can see the white areas. These are the special features, buildings, road surfaces, vegetation removed from this one. This ground returns, if further processed and using spatial interpolation, we can generate some other product we will see later. This is overlay of a ground returns with orthophoto just to show the building removes. This is a building. This is a tree. This is a tree, a building. Next slide. This is the non-ground returns. You can see the system extracted all special features there, the buildings, the road surfaces, the vegetation, using the standard code adopted from ASPRS. And the overlay of non-ground returns with orthophoto is here. You can see the building, you can see the road surfaces, and then the trees. Next. This is the area 2, represented using a color generated from the point cloud. You can see the terrain. This is digital elevation model, the bare ground without terrain features. The digital surface model, you can see the buildings, and then where we don't have features, you see the ground. Next. This is a E-shade derived from the digital elevation model, the bare ground. The other one, this one is the E-shade from digital surface model. You can see the ground with other features, with their height there. This is a building, this is a tree. Next. Slope from them. This is aspect from them. Contour lines from them. And this one is the normalized digital surface model. This is a surface model obtained by subtracting digital elevation model from digital surface model. It's giving us height of objects. The dark green, look, go back. The dark green areas, like this area, are the shortest features. And where there's no feature is the bare ground. When you click it, you get the height of that feature. The bright red areas show the vegetation, the tallest trees there. When you click it, you get the height of the tree, relative height. Next. Application of our products. They can be applied in surveying and mapping for topographical mapping, detailed survey, as-built survey, volume computation. In post-disaster mapping, you can use this technology. In transportation and engineering and construction, it can be applied. In building information modeling, is applicable. For agriculture, to monitor crop growth, and for fast data acquisition, for accurate farm analysis. In urban application, it's applicable for building. Let's go to the recommendations. That one is very important. The Office of Surveyor General of the Federation, States, and the Mapping Agency to adopt this one to update the topographic database. The second one is to include it in our MCPD. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We have the constraint of the mic, so we couldn't control the time from here. Our mouths were short. But we thank our presenter for that presentation. So I hope we are all taking down. When he was presenting, I was trying to picture him as somebody standing, or a surveyor general standing before the governor, trying to explain to him what we can do to solve the problem of the states. Because remember, the theme is, everything we are doing is for what? Governance at all levels, either at state level, at local government levels, and so on. We have myriads of problems, and we also know that, like we said yesterday, there is no activity on earth that is not location based, whether on ground or in space or wherever, under the sea. So if at the end of the whole exercise we are not able to tell those in government how what we are doing we contribute to the success, forget about how they share money, how money is shared. We can even use it to tell them how to share the money, how to get more money. Yes, we can tell them how to get more money, but don't talk about how to share it. Tell them how more money can come into the coffers. So even how to share too. So just keep putting down your question. At the appropriate time, you will now ask the questions. So we go to the next presenter, Olu Borode. Strategies for effective harmonization and implementation of the 2020 SOCON guidelines for the conduct of survey practice in Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand on the existing protocol. I am Surveyor Oluborode J.O. From Osun State, branch of the NIS. The paper is actually addressing the aspect of the sub-team laws coordination. And the topic is strategies for effective harmonization and implementation of the 2020 SOCON guidelines for the conduct of survey practice in Nigeria. I want the abstract on first. I will just summarize the abstract because of time constraint. In year 2020, a public notice was published by SOCON, which later translated into a law through a publication of a gazette by the Federal Republic of Nigeria, number 113, volume 107, dated 28th July 2020. The gazette later was greeted by many comments from the public, particularly from the surveying community, but our public opinion poll revealed that it was one of the best gifts that SOCON has given to the surveying community. But that notwithstanding, there is a need to critically look at the Gazette in line with other survey laws, rules and regulations, and the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So please, can you go to the slide? We do know that most of our products are in maps, diagrams, and descriptive diagrams. And these are backed up by necessary regulations and guidelines. Most of the survey work are backed by regulations. And because of that, any regulation or law being put in place to govern or guide surveying has to be critically looked at to find out how that guideline really suits our profession. And that's the essence of justification for this paper. So we critically and radically scrutinize these laws and all the regulations to be able to find out how this will suit our work. Now, the Gazette or the guideline, the very problem, that statement of the problem, the very problem identified that necessitated SOCON to bring about this guideline was the non-compliance with minimum standard of survey practice. We observed also that there's some lack of clarity and ambiguity in some of the sections of the guidelines. Then we also observed that there are conflicting areas in some of the survey laws, rules, and regulations with the guidelines, which we need to critically observe and make recommendations, maybe for review or for amendments. The objective of the study is to propose strategies for the successful implementation of the guideline, and also to harmonize the guidelines with other existing survey regulations. We also want to identify some areas in the guidelines that are in conflict that needs amendment. And of course, to make recommendations that will be suitable for all and provide a standard to improve our survey practice. So we did an analysis. We did an analysis of the guideline, two aspects, the interpretations and the implication. I want to assume, and I hope my assumption is very correct, that a good number of us here must have seen the guideline and have studied it. But if you have not, well, please go to the next one. I have a table here showing the guideline and then the sections of the guidelines. But time will not allow us to go through everything. But I'll just mention it. The interpretation was done section by section. And the implications of every section was also mentioned. I will take those that are cognizant, that I know will generate a lot of issues among us in this workshop. For instance, the section 1, subsection 1 talks of the eligibility to practice. And the interpretation means that only surveyors can practice the profession of surveying. The implication for is that any foreign surveyors or companies are not eligible to practice in Nigeria except they register with SOCON. So any violation of that is assumed to be criminality. Then section 1, subsection 2 talks about the publication of those qualified to practice. That's very clear. But the implication, if you note, SOCON mentioned that the publication of technicians and technologists registered poses danger of public ignorance, assuming their eligibility. In other words, in the guideline, it was stated that technicians and technologists on SOCON registers can practice. The word can practice means a lot, which is not correct. So we are saying that that aspect has to be reviewed. You can say they can work under a registered surveyor, but when you say they can practice, the ignorant public will assume that they also have the right to go into practice. That has to be looked into. Then we talk about the jurisdiction of practice. We talk about post-registration mentorship, which also mentorship is no longer required outside the pupillage period. Talks about lodgement of survey records. I want to take the key ones that are very of topical issues. The role of the Office of the Surveyor General. All public surveys should be contracted out to surveyors, to private surveyors, and there should be nothing like survey works by direct labor. Yesterday, an issue came up where a state said the Surveyor General did so many work on direct labor. That is a violation of the guideline. SOCON has done well to give us a tool and a power to be able to get all the jobs done by practicing surveyors. So it's not SOCON that will actually fight our cause. That state and the professionals in that state should be able to take the Surveyor General to task, because it is contrary to the guideline. And that's the power and that's the law we have now for us. Then we also have accreditation of surveying. I'll skip, please, next slide. Then another one that is practice in public and private land states that surveyors can practice, can go into public and private lands to practice. That's clear. Issuance of beacon numbers for public and private lands, also very clear. You will get most of this in the paper. Then surveyors as witness in a court of law, survey content of engineering works. We have been deliberating on this. The guideline also gave us an ample opportunity to ensure that that we get the survey component of engineering works. Subsection 7, subsection 1, please. Okay. SOCON will engage a team of people to enforce the law. Section 1, Section 7, subsection 2, guideline requires publicity, wide publicity. Then we talk about the strategies and implementation for this 2020 SOCON guidelines. Strategies, provision of identity cards. What we mean by that is this, that, for instance, in Osun State, all practicing surveyors, the APPSN has issued identity cards for all practicing surveyors. We expect that each surveyor and each survey firm should also produce identity cards for their staff. So when they go on site, what the SOCON guideline says is that nobody.
You have a minute.
Okay. Nobody except a registered surveyor can practice. So if you find somebody on site without an identity card, that person can be called to question. So it's strong practice. We also, please, let me just mention advocacy for survey college. Then we also mention that private practice to be encouraged in the North. I want to stress this very point. The SOCON guidelines provides that only SOCON can provide the beacon numbers. So as far as that is done, it means public numbers are no longer be issued out. So even in the North, it means all survey work should be done bearing SOCON beacon numbers. And that makes all the survey contracts or jobs to be done by private surveyors. Let me, because of time, let me go to the recommendations. You'll find some of the areas of conflicts and some of the areas that you need review. Recommendations. Okay. So we have talked about the well-being of the profession based on law.
Please. Your time is exhausted.
Yeah,
I'm giving you 1 more minute.
Yes, 1 minute.
1 more minute.
Yes, please.
The chairman is giving him 1 more minute.
Okay.
There's a chairman here.
Yes,
1 minute.
Some of our recommendation. This recommendation, we said there is need for, please. We said there is need for some amendment. There is need for some amendments, in the SOCON guidelines, where there's contradiction between the guideline and some of our survey regulations and departmental instruction. We also said, the NI should lobby the political class. We mentioned that, the aspect, whereby public officers, I know this is very explosive, public officers, doing survey work. This is a contradiction to Section 2B of the 5th schedule of the 1999 Constitution. And that aspect has to be looked into clearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another round of applause for him. Thank you. We know that many of us will want to ask questions, especially on this paper. So you can put down the questions because we may not give everybody that want to ask question on this paper the opportunity. So if you want to, you can put it down, find a way of passing it down to us. We take some openly, then we go back to look at other ones. Remember that the theme is mapping policies and strategies. And from what we've just heard, we have second guidelines 2020. It's talking about how to assess it. In other climes, all you just need is to they'll give you a link. They give you a link, go straight to the link, and as it's presenting, you do what? You download it. If you can't do that, we are waiting until maybe after 7 months or so, we'll be getting the guideline. By now, Socon should have on their website the link to this particular guideline so that you can write here with your phone, you download it. So if it's talking, you'll be looking at some of the section that is quoting to see how far it's in line with what has been published. But that is what we form part of the policy. We have so many publications, but people can access them. Thank you. So we take another paper. It's not there in your program, but you are going to take it because the technical committee approved that. And the title is Development of an Application Tool for the Site Location of Survey Controls Beacon in Oyo Town by, is it Oyeyode? Oyeyode? Where are you? Come straight to the podium.
Good day, everybody. My name is Ovie Oyode Ajiboye, and I'm presenting a paper titled Development of an Application Tool for the Site Location of Survey Control Beacons in Oyo Town, Oyo State, Nigeria. I'm presenting, I collaborated with Dr. D.N. Olayinka Dosumu and Professor T.O. Idowu to prepare this paper. Now, like we all know, the information about our survey control points and also survey data generally, they are mostly domiciled in an archaic file system and a cabinet system. Even as technology improves with the use of computer system and introduction of DBMS, we still have several limitations with the storage of our control of our survey data generally. Because, like for instance, if a surveyor should go to site, before you get to site, the normalcy is that you have to get information of the control points you want to use before you even get to site. Now, what if the person at the ministry that is supposed to give you the information of the control point is indisposed or is not on suit? It's not on suit. That means you'll be stranded. Several people have experienced such. So, and it is obvious that we are in the era of technology. Technology keeps improving. So in this paper, we developed an application that harnessed the power of web programming and GIS to store, display, to be able to visualize, and also update easily information of survey data. Please, next slide. In Oyo. Next slide, please. Next. Next slide. Okay. So, who is? Okay. So, I should go. Okay. So now, the the work started by acquiring the survey control points data from Federal School. Okay, the study area is Oyo Town generally. So, and this is a latitude and longitude, the maximum latitude and longitude range of Oyo. Please, next slide. So now the work started by acquiring the coordinates of all the control points that have been established within Oyo Town by Federal School of Surveying for students' practical use. And those coordinates were stored actually in Excel file format. Now, the coordinates were also converted to JSON file data, JSON file format, so it could be recognized by the several web programming applications that would be used, since this application was prepared based on JavaScript programming language. Now, there is this database that was created. It was an MLab version of the MongoDB database. It's an online database which is document oriented. It eliminates the need for the row and column in the relational database. So that was done by creating a login, the data with MongoDB on MongoDB website. Then a certain database was created named Control Finder. So the Control Finder, inside the Control Finder database, all the coordinates collected, they were up to 2,000 coordinates. All the coordinates collected from Federal School of Surveying were saved as documents inside the database. Now, that was followed by, hello, please, whoever is in charge should go to the next slide, please. Probably the objectives. Oh. Okay, so after creating after creating the database, the next thing that was done was the use of Node.js to implement. Okay, so the use of Node.js and PowerShell to perform both the client side and the server side programming. So several application programming interfaces, the APIs, were used. So several creation of control, so implementation. So I am on creation of control point database and data migration. Okay, implementation of database. So several application programming interfaces were used. The first one that was used was the HTML5 geolocation API, which it was chosen because it was capable of geolocating or localizing the position of any user within Oyo using the GPS chips on individual's phone or a smartphone or even laptop. And it also has the capability of triangulating, of getting the user's location by triangulating the cell tower within reach. As well, the IP address of individual users can also be used to get the location using the HTML5. Now, the web mapping API that was used is a leaflet API because it is free. We have several APIs. We have several web mapping APIs. We have the Google Map API. We have OpenLayer and several other ones. Some are free, some are proprietary. So this one is free and it is very flexible. So that was used. HTML was also used to arrange the server, the client-side interface, and also the CSS cascade styling sheet was used to beautify the environment. Now, please let us go to the result discussion. The results. Okay. So the end product of the research was an interactive web-based survey control finder application, and the application can be accessed online. Yes, one more thing that was done was the launching was the hosting of the application on Heroku website. It's a free web host application hosting website, so that's why it was used. So this is the look of the interface of the application. Next slide. Okay, so now these are the four of the interfaces. If the button at the uppermost right here shows the information about the control finder application. Now, the default settings was for the application to show the control points within 200-meter radius. This can be increased by adjusting the buffer zone here, the buffer distance here, or by zooming in and out. Also, this point, this dot at the middle means the user has been geolocated. All these dots here are the control points within Oyo. You also have the liberty of offing all the control points. This is like an OpenStreetMap base map. It also has the capability of launching imagery so that you can have a feel of your environment as you locate your control points. Now the demo, next slide. So I also recorded a demo. Okay, now the features of the application is that it is user-friendly, it has sidebars, it is highly responsive to users and all. So now this is the application URL, https controlfinder.herokuapp.com. Immediately you click on that, if you have a good internet reception, it will just launch directly. Now, I was at Awe the day I recorded this. The nearest control to my location was that single point. Now I was trying to geolocate myself to localize my position here. Now it has been done. This, as at that day, this was the nearest control point. So after clicking it, it will show a single option, locate. And it also shows the information of the control point that was clicked.
A minute left.
Okay, so now, next slide, please. So this, I was already approaching the control point at this point, and that is how it works until I got to the control point. Now the control point application, the control finder application is able to perform displaying of control. It can display control point information. It can also create routes. It will create route information. It will also draw a line. It responds to user click. It generates route. It display attribute information about control. Next, please. So this is the conclusion. It's the creation of this application was a success, and it can be accessed. You can as well find out about it here. You can click, use this link to access the application. It will show you a lengthy information about how to get to that point at Oyo, but the best way to use it is for you to go to Oyo and access it. Now, I recommend that this application should be probably adopted by several ministries, because all these archaic means of saving information is getting phased out. So let us embrace the latest technology. Thank you.
Thank you. For that. Thank you very much for that presentation. I believe we are all taking down our questions. We take the last paper for this session, then we take the questions. We want to call on Chukwacha AC to present the paper on a proposal for the indexing of Nigerian Journal of Surveying and Geoinformatics in top international journal databases. It's venerable.
Mr. Chairman and the high table, colleagues, all protocols observed, as we will say. My name is Venerable Dr. A.C. Chukwacha. I'm an associate professor of surveying and geoinformatics at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri. I'm presenting a paper on a proposal for a Nigerian Journal of Surveying and Geoinformatics that is indexed on top international journal databases. Next. This is a definition, and I'm sure all of us understand definitions of, have different definitions of professional bodies, but essentially is an organization that has people who practice or who have developed the same skills or skill sets for is providing certain services that are domiciled in their area of training. Is the slide available? Slide. They showed it already. I'm waiting. Okay, that's one of such definitions. But please, let's go to the next. I don't want to dwell on this. This is a description. Origin says that probably one of the first professions to professional bodies to be established was a medical society in New Jersey in 1766. But these key attributes of professional associations, top anywhere you go, is professional development in terms of the most current and relevant books, resources, and methods for your profession. That is top attribute for every professional association, like NIS. Next. There are other things anyway, networking, control, and all the rest of them. Place of journals, given the duties or the attributes of professional bodies. One, while practicing the profession, and if you really engage in practice, new findings and innovations emanate. The new knowledge or innovations are documented in journals. This is where we miss it sometimes. Established knowledge, they are documented in textbooks. Anything you see in a textbook is old knowledge, is established. But new things come up as people go to field, as people go for research, and these things, if they are relevant, they are documented in journals. Next. So journals are repositories for, that say we've been practicing this thing and these are our findings. You can't be doing professional practice without findings. Journals are also periodicals that record innovations and scientific advancements achieved by a professional group. The absence of a quality journal is a direct indictment on the professional body. It is an evidence that such professional body has no findings or innovations that are worthy of documenting. Next. For example, I want you to look at this case that we considered at NASGIL conference a few weeks ago. Consider the use of GNSS for cadastral surveying in Nigeria. Surveyors use 5-second RTK for cadastral distances that are even shorter than 5 meters. Let's go on. Next. This interesting research was taken in Owerri in March this year. I don't want to do this maths. It will take my time. Next. Now we have, in this case, 30-meter corners. We have 4 corners, a square, 30-meter length for all the size, coordinated by using RTK with one of the latest and most efficient equipment. Next. Please, people using this place, you block. Next slide, please. Well, we can't see this well. But what happened was that RTK was used to, determine positions at the 4 corners of a 30-meter square. And one was determined 2 weeks earlier. The second one was determined, of course, 2 weeks after. The third one was determined 2 hours after. Next. All right, so these are the results. If you use RTK to determine 15 meter, your linear accuracy will be 1 in 62. Use RTK to determine 30 meters, your linear accuracy will be 1 in 180. Use RTK to determine 60 meters, your linear accuracy will be 1 in 132. But you agree that the most celebrated method of surveying in Nigeria today is RTK. Next. So, but where can we find these research results? Where can we find them? This is not just a Nigerian finding. In Australia, the second reference there is the publication of the New South Wales government, 2014. You are not allowed to use GNSS, whether static, fast static, whatever, to determine distances that are shorter than 100 meters. But the next one is specific on RTK. You are not allowed to use 15-second RTK to determine distances that are shorter than 615 meters. But we use them in our country because research findings in this country or in our profession, there are no journals to doc. I just wanted to excite you a little for you to know. These things would have been in journals that will pass on to practitioners as periodicals, the researchers themselves will have a place to publish, students themselves will have opportunity. The trade fairs where we work as surveyors in Nigeria, we lose them because we have no journals. Let's go to the next, please. All right, of course, I had to make note that there are also strong works that have been done. I didn't just want to talk about the one that have been done in Futo. Things like transformation parameters. Till today, OSGOF is still giving us the one from American mapping system that has a standard error of over 15 meters. 15 meters. Whereas in Nigeria, Nigerian researchers have produced transformation parameters that are in centimeters. But I'm sure more than 50% of us here don't even know that any such thing exists. And we're still using that distance because there is no journal. You can't reference anybody anywhere. Next. Well, sorry. Let's stay here. Can you go back a little, please? It looks like while I was talking, you passed me. A little, just 1 or 2. Will it hang? All right. So, reputable journals, there are reputable journal houses that have achieved high, of course, reputation over time and may also host journals from professional bodies and institutions like our own. You have Elsevier, you have Taylor and Francis, you have William Online, you have Springer. Next one. These are journal houses. There are databases for indexing scholarly journals. These, for instance, Web of Science, Thomson Reuters, Clarivate Analytics, Scopus by Elsevier, Schemaco Journal Rank. These ones are provided to rank. How are the journals performing? To maintain standards. What we have here so far now in surveying in Nigeria is we have a journal that nobody here can say when this year's edition or next year's will come out, or if it will even come out at all, we don't know. And I must tell us, because I believe that all of us here are interested in research. When we come and take report, and AGM report says so amount was spent in AGM, so amount was spent in traveling, so amount was spent. How do these things we spend money on develop our profession? No periodicals, no periodicals. I'm not talking about lecturers. The practitioners here, forgive me, but I want to use a word that is true, and I don't mean to insult you. I'm a practitioner too, I consider myself. I simply mean that we are stale. You want to subscribe to Journal of Surveying Engineering in the United States, or you want to subscribe to Springer and all the rest of them. Where will you find them? And we are not sending our own out there. Next, please. Oh, it's gone. Okay. So, now look at the examples. Conference of South African Surveyors, CONSAS, is equivalent of Nigerian Institution of Surveyors. They run South African Journal of Geomatics, and it's indexed on Thomson Reuters. As we are talking, if CONSAS was hosting this conference, major journal houses including the indexing houses, they will be here. Because they are saying important things. Surveying and Land Information System, SALIS, is a journal run by American Society for Geodetic Surveying, and it's on Skimago. Geodetsky Vetnisky is the publication of the Association of Surveyors of Slovenia. It's on Thomson Reuters. Next, please. The official journal of Eternal Society of Photogrammetry and Topography is the Journal of Applied Geomatics. It's run on the platform of Springer. Survey Review is presently published by Taylor and Francis under the auspices of Commonwealth Association of Surveying and Land Economy, Castle. Journal of Surveying Engineering is run by American Society of Civil Engineering, and it is on Thomson Reuters. Next. Now, you can, when you get the paper, you can now look at a list of many more. Let's go to the next one. But, sorry, these ones are Nigerian professional bodies that run these journals. And they are indexed on Thomson Reuters. Next. Next, please. Please go back to the consequences of no journal of Nigerian surveying profession properly indexed on Web of Science, Scopus, or Skimago. Nigerian professionals and practitioners are left to lag seriously, please, that should be corrected, to lag seriously behind in terms of following trends of tools and methods because the periodicals are not available. I'll share a story with you. There was an APPSN, National APPSN, something in Owerri, and I had to answer a question. Somebody said, since GPS achieves 1 in 2 million accuracy and that kind of range, is it not too accurate for us to use in cadastral surveying? And I answered that the reverse is the case. GPS is too inaccurate to be used in cadastral surveying. The reason you are giggling is because you have not looked at it, you have not read it. You use tape to measure distance or EDM to measure distance directly. When you use GPS, assuming this is the error, and let me warn that if the error range like 20 meters, you are using GPS. If you are using GPS autonomous, minimum error is 20 meters. That is science, it's in textbook. Autonomous.
You've exhausted the okay. Time. Please, there are more questions. Excuse me, please. We have, unless you people want us to exceed 12 noon. Okay. Because we are following time. We still need time to ask questions. Please. Questions will be directed to him on this issue. We have seen, he already said something on the need. So try and round up so that we can take the questions. You still have time during the question time to address.
Sorry. I know you are interested in GPS talk. My talk is that periodicals should be made available so that anywhere you go in the world, you are abreast with the best practices that are current and relevant so that you can match anybody anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Doc, I know that the interest of a good number of us here is on some of the issues about accuracy and that is bringing up, not on the indexing. No, it's not on the indexing. I'm sure it's not the indexing that is exciting you people. What is exciting you people is, you know, we will still get to that. When you get results, those results must still be subjected to a conference like this, the global body, before it becomes a standard. You don't publish standard by a single work. If you have your own, you publish it. The essence of publishing is others will look at it, replicate it. If it is given the same thing, then you go to conference, workshop. It will be agreed on that this method has the capability and it will be adopted. For us in surveying, you have to go to FIG present it. Other people from other parts of the world will come, ask questions. If eventually it's adopted, it will be taken as a standard. Standards are not taken from one single. So we need to know the beauty of it, that you can make yourself visible. That's what it's trying to say, that we can become more visible than we are currently are, so that people will see what we are doing. They will try to repeat the same thing. Then when you come to international conferences, you subject it to, you prove that what you have done. People will ask you questions. Then if eventually it is adopted, then it can be accepted as a standard. Remember, something being a standard is what has been commonly agreed upon. So questions will still come on that. That brings us to the last presenter. Now we are going to take the questions. We are going to take the questions. We still take 1 to 10. Then, so if your own is not taken, you can send us your question, write it down and send to us. But now we are going to take questions. Let me start from number 1 from here. Number 2. Okay, number 3. 2 from this side. Where? Okay, number 4. Number 5. One of you will take the number 5. One of you. So you decide who is taking it. Do we have? Both of them are sitting very close. Number 6. Yes. Number 7. I'm taking number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Let's take the one at the top there. Number 10. So let's see how the time will run. The time we have. If we have more time, we can take more questions. So number 1. Yes. Number 1. Just note your number.
Mr. Chairman and
number 2 from
fellow surveyors, I've attentively listened to our presenters, and I'm really very happy that they did a lot of work, especially the last 3 presenters, on how to improve survey practice. Those who worked on second laws and other aspects of cadastral survey. You see, personally, I feel that the academics, those who are presenting papers are lecturers, and they have gone down to see the problems that practitioners are facing without knowing. And if you do that, you can see there will be a synergy between practitioners and lecturers. Unfortunately, the lecturers are not part of APPSN, where these problems are discussed, except if they come to AGM. For example, as soon as you get out of the university system and go to peep into what is happening, the plan number, as it is practiced today in Nigeria, which the legal tender has not been digitized. It is still a standalone. And the method of the position of plot copies and retrieval, these are still problems that the practitioners are facing. I'm thinking that my question to the last 2 presenters is, what are you doing to see that a person in Lagos can retrieve a plan number from a practitioner in Enugu, just to cite it, so that you can get information? I'm saying this because I present it to our people at Enugu. The banks can retrieve any bank account from anywhere. Why is it that our own is localized? This is my challenge to you people, to incorporate it into your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Oyinloye from Osun State, FNIS. I'm very, very brief. I have only 2 questions, 1 observation, and then 1 question. The first observation is general to all most of the presenters. We are also driving towards knowing how to present papers in standard and international organizations. We should shy away from the use of I. Even those that have multiple authors. I did this. No. You did it together with some others, and you also made references. So the use of we is what is internationally accepted, just for us to note. I'm focusing on Sylvia Oluborode, the policy and strategic something man. We thank you for bringing out the consistencies, inconsistencies, disparities, and not the rest in our rules and regulations, laws pertaining to surveying practice in Nigeria. Particularly that section of the Constitution that prohibits all public officers, yes, all public officers from practicing, from private practice. We are part of, surveyors are part of. It is this same country that we have engineers, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have quantity surveyors, we have urban and regional planners, we have pharmacists, and a host of all of us in our different professions. Why is that of surveying different? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Question is, why is our profession different from others? But he also has observation. He made his observations on and the 2020 SOCON guidelines, his own observations. Then he now asks a question, why is our own profession different? We have more lawyers, more engineers, more pharmacists than surveyors. So the next person, number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Winston Ayeni. I have questions for the lady who talked about women. If you define surveying as capturing and processing, presenting of geospatial data, then you will not use only. Hello? There is a definition of surveying by NIS. It is yesterday's definition. The definition of surveying today, and by law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, includes cartographers, GIS analysts. These are all surveyors in the Federal Republic of Nigerian law, not our body. So if your paper is defining surveying, then madam, you've left out a large number of people that are cartographers and GIS. Your research is not detailed. For example, in Kaduna, there are 3 institutions that have specialized programs on photogrammetry, remote sensing, GIS, and digital cartography. That's in Kaduna Polytechnic. The Nigerian NDA Defense Academy University in Kaduna also has in their geography department a GIS sector. You didn't consider this type of people. I'm sure there are other universities that have GIS embedded in their cartography. The bulk of the candidates of those programs are women. So you want to go back and redefine your parameters. Thank you. Iola, I was worried about the accuracy of the heights that you will get from those images. Why am I worried about it? Because in 3D cadastra, height is very important. So if the accuracy of height, you didn't state any accuracy in your whole paper. In other words, I don't know for which purpose I can use it. You gave me generic names, but I need to know the accuracy so that I begin to see for which purpose can I use that methodology. Oluborode, this is, you made what looked like a fundamental statement. You said technicians and technologies should not be allowed to practice. You are not the law of Nigeria, and I'm sorry, NIS is not the law. The law of the Federal Republic says there should be 4 registers of people that should practice. That's the law. And we are not competent to change the law. So until the National Assembly changes that, yes, there is a law that says a technician or a technologist can't sign an instrument. That is only the limitation. But because of freedom of association, if you graduate, I have a boy who has an ND. That boy owns a drone. He does jobs. I tell him, go and employ one registered Mugu. Employ him and pay him. He's your principal. That's what CAC demands. That's what SOCOM demands. So you want to please, if you didn't say that, then maybe please readdress it so that unbelievers here will believe. Now, Chukwuocha, you talked about the journal, but I will say it to you because you are a lecturer. The reason why I'm saying it to you is because if you put a virus in a student, then the student inherits your virus. So I get very critical with lecturers especially. You used names that are used by salesmen. Awofeko don't use that language. It is Oscar Moore. Oscar Moore is not a trained surveyor. You can't come to us and say, if you use RTK 5 seconds, it's nonsense language. There's nothing like that. RTK is a mode of using a satellite receiver in differential form. It is not a classification of a GPS. Please. You cannot, GPS is measuring pseudo range. So you can't, when you see 5 seconds RTK, it means that Mugu is ignorant of surveying. Because the GPS does not even measure distance, angle. So why 5 seconds RTK? That is Oscar Moore language. You must fix it. Now, the other one, is, everybody here, this is, and again, because there are so many lecturers here, linear accuracy is nonsense language. I know we all do it. 1 in 3,000, linear accuracy. That was when they didn't train anybody BSc surveying in Nigeria. That's instructions to surveyor. I to S. They will tell you 1 in 3,000. It is a representative ratio of your error against a total distance. In least squares adjustment, there's nothing like linear accuracy. That is how close did you measure your distance. Now you can't do that with a GPS. So please, you are doctor, associate, prof, by your introduction. You can't speak that kind of language. Thank you.
Who are you clapping for? Are you clapping for wasting? For his observations. I see it as his observations that we should use the proper terminology. When we meet like this, we are talking to professionals. Forget about Oscar Moore language. We are professionals. Number 4, Please, let's not come up and take 10 questions at the same time. Just maybe one or two.
Oh, okay. I stand on the existing protocols. Somewhere Dr. Didigu is my name. I just want to make one general statement for all. I don't think the idea of citing authors as far back as 1976 is appropriate this time. I know Yoyede made such reference to Mabogunje, 1976. It's too far. That's 36 years. Does it mean that you have not, or no other author has worked in such area until as far back as that? I know that the topic you presented is an excellent one. It's very, very good, but remember the standard for referencing. I want to the presenter of the first paper, Sowewenuzo. I want to advise you. Continuity, I know, is one of the problems of government. But if you know Sowewe Kevin A or B, you can locate the perimeter survey of Federal Polytechnic done in 1986. It can guide you to get it if the university are thrown, if the polytechnics are thrown is on a way. Even the Federal Polytechnic of my campus, you can get it from GE Okenwa. Clearly, I was a person, the field person. When I did industrial attachment, 1 year industrial attachment, I was a person who did the job. Okenwa was the head of department then. So there is need. It's for your future referencing, so that you will not say such thing does not exist. Such plans are existing. So I've talked about the general referencing. I think that of S.C. Chukwuocha, associate professor. To me, his presentation is our food for thought. You can bring it up during MCPD. The authority of NIS can consider this topic and check how it works. He presented an excellent paper, and I thank him for that. Thank you, surveyors.
Number 5. Where's number 5?
My name is Said Olani, Federal School of Surveying. Firstly, this is a combined number 5. The presenter on the issue on law, that's legal cadastral. You see, the point raised or the issue raised, they are vital and really need critical discussion. I don't know if it is possible to bring it up at a plenary session for proper address. Because we are talking about the issue of law, and we know what this kind of interpretation has caused the institution in the past years. So if it is possible for a proper discussion, before you know it, the issue will start lingering after the presentation. And secondly, on the issue of our practice, globally, there are industrial academic relationships. There's no how an academia will carry out research without input from the industry. And it's a global practice that when a problem was discovered in the industry, it will be presented to the academia to address and come up with solutions. I think it's high time for NIS to take a cue from FIG, whereby researches will be sponsored. We have professors that are very good at designing research. And where do we get data for all these researches? From both the academia and from those in the industry. In 2019 in Oka, Osgov came up with a transformation pamphlet and sold the pamphlet to all of us. We are very happy that we are moving forward. On getting home, this was fed into most of our GPS. And lo and behold, a large number of errors. But when we conduct findings, we discover that the research was actually rolled out. The Eastern Bloc carried out their own research, but it was collated. And other regions in Nigeria, the result was not collated, and OSGO went ahead and published Transformation Parameters booklet. And the more you move away from the eastern part of Nigeria, you're going to have a lot of transformation error. And if such a research is being designed, the required observation, I know the practitioner goes out every day to carry out GPS observation. The kind of data required for such a research can be sent out, can be sent to the ends of Sophia that are carrying out that research on transformation parameters. Then we're going to have a robust parameter for our own dear country, Nigeria. So what I'm saying in essence is that it is high time for NIS to have, if we can have a lot of subgroup, then research should be sponsored at this time so that we will not rely on a lot of global parameters. Like EGM, yesterday, EGM 96, EGM 2008, we are also reminded that EGM 2020 is now around. So it's high time to have our own joint model transformation parameter for a better survey practice in Nigeria. The RTK issue we are not discussed. It cannot work perfectly without a very reliable transformation parameters. Who knows that those errors incurred may be from the transformation. Time for the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors to imbibe the culture of designing and sponsoring research. Both the industry, the academia, to solve our geospatial problem in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you continue clapping, I agree with him that there should be synergy between the industry and the training institutions. Problems are seen in the field, and you want those problems to be solved. So you push it to those, while you continue with your practice and so on, you push it to some people that have enough time to look into those problems and research on how to be solved. But it has to be sponsored. We continue to talk about sponsorship. We don't give people assignment to do without being willing to sponsor it. On the parameters, we are not part of it. I was part of it. I was fully involved. So a statement you made was not correct. The data that was sent by OSGov, and it is national. All the points, we are spread all over the country. So it's not the Eastern, because you get the impression that the Eastern used the data from no, it wasn't the correct information. So if there is any problem, then we can look at the source, but not from the data. The data that we are used, that we are sent to all the various that handled it, was gotten from OSGov, and it was covering the entire country. So that is just for that. So if there are problems, it can be raised, and people will look at the source of the
standing on all protocols. I want to recommend all the presenters today for coming out.
Ensure not to press.
Because in one way or the other, we could have gained something. So I want to say thank you for coming out. My name is Mrs. Simulu Patrick. I want to talk based on what the surveyor who talked on feature extraction and classification of UAV images using the point cloud featuring algorithm. He gave us several outputs. He talked about the outputs which are STM. This is the survey's terrain model. He talked about the DTM, which is the digital terrain model. He talked about the outputs. He also mentioned the orthophoto, but I feel we didn't go deep about the application of the orthophoto. Because in my company, we use the orthophoto for several processes, especially with the land administration system. I want us to understand that the world is rising and the world is going global. And the invent of the orthophoto is actually something that is globally being encouraged in the world. The orthophoto can be used for several reasons. For street maps, for the land administration system. It can be used as a base. It's more like a check for charting. For those of us in the ministry working with the Ministry of Lands and Survey. So these are areas we can look into, especially using the orthophoto. We use this for charting so as to avoid dispute issues and some other issues that could arise as per giving out a land to two or several owners. So I want us to really look into the use of the orthophoto because he didn't really mention it. He only talked about it, he paraphrased about it, and he talked about other applications that other of the outputs can be used for, but he didn't really talk about the orthophoto. So I want us to know that the orthophoto is very important and it's used globally now. So it's something we should encourage the government to invest in, especially on cases of the land administration system. It helps us to solve a lot of errors, a lot of inputs, a lot of dispute issues that has been arising in past times. Now imagine if somebody, probably a cartographer in the Ministry of Lands and Survey doesn't have the orthophoto as a basis. A well-processed orthophoto, they're about 3 centimeters, whereby all products, errors, geometric errors has been removed. We will have the system whereby we'll have a free errors being in place and we'll solve the issues of being selling a plot of land to 2 or 3 more people when we use the orthophoto as a base to charting in our ministries. So I want us to be encouraged and also employ the use of the orthophoto because it helps us in the sustainability of the e-governance. Thank you.
Thank you for encouraging the presenters. Well, we don't have the papers before us, not even the abstract. So you that presented it, Iola, you tell us whether your paper is deep enough to have addressed the issues. Because when we eventually see the papers, we know whether they address what you are raising. It's the author that will tell us, I don't have the paper, we don't have it, we don't even have the abstract. So we can't say anything except the presenter. So thank you. Number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to raise 2 or 3 issues as part of the presentation that was made this morning. I start with the first presenter. Other paper analysis has brought for a very, very important issue. The role of surveyors today. Unfortunately, paper is not without look at it critically, and you didn't have the time or you don't utilize the time to bring out the most important issue in that presentation. The multi-criteria decision analysis. Surveyors today are data managers. The technology of today has improved any person to get data for use. how to analyze, now remain expert. We are structural expert. So that support system or criteria analysis, what form the basis of some aspect of carbon gathered whereby critically stated that Soviet General should be overseeing activities of the practitioners. It is the Soviet General that should have the ability to advise the government on partial related development that can be achieved if that expertise of criteria analysis can be displayed to excellence for him to approve any budget or project allocation. The input of that your paper clearly shows the capability of surveyors in structured analysis where multi-criteria are taken. I think that should be captured in the community, show that we have that. Now, for the strategies for effective harmonization, implementation of certain now, second level, see, federal law. Regulations are derivatives of the law. So when you talk of that harmonization, you should take into cognizance that this is already a law. And regulations are derived from the law. Regulations should not contradict the law. And it's not a regulation that involves what the law should function by that. So I think while you are now making part take the primary aspect of the law. I think so. I think it's better you realize. Now, the last paper that has been presented here throws a question that is now ongoing. And this is an issue. This institution take up. I have been attending some council of works, council of plans. Organizations have presented memos of how to govern their appropriations. It's unfortunate. As we are here now, there is ongoing activities. The council of plans and house is ongoing. Our representatives from the SOC have lamented that while other professionals are there presenting memos that will determine the policy of land governance, they are all here and all that, and no presentation was made by this. No, I said we are here while the ongoing sorry, I don't. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. I was kind of. Now, see, the issue is this. We are talking about ability of our own something, and that should be embedded and make sure that we make our presence known, especially in those places where policies are being made. We have some issues that need to be addressed. We are here talking to ourselves. Where we'll have an avenue where we can now put into place those things that we need. So I encourage the institution to ensure that a member is always treated as
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Issa, for that incisive observations. Whether we are in Oka or in Adwik, the fact is that We are another place where we ought to be. We don't have representative where we ought to be. So that has been taken note of. There's no way we would have changed the date for this conference, but some people would have been sent to go and represent us.
Yeah, when it comes to matter of first of times, we will thank the presenters. To the presenter on the women, your data, I've not been able to actually comprehend which method you have actually used in your selection of where you collected your data. So that one is very, very important. Because of data collection, your research may be thrown away. Most of the issue I want to address, I listed here, have been addressed. I will not go into them. Then the paper from my teacher there, Surveyor Oluborode, and that of Reverend Ukocha, I want to believe that those two papers, we may not have enough time to actually deliberate well on them. Perhaps in a situation like this at times, such may actually be given, may be used as poster presentation, such that we can go to their stand and ask any question we want to ask observation. Otherwise, like the proposal from on the floor about looking at it on the plenary, I think we should look into that so that we can look at this law critically and see what can actually comes out of it. So these are the two observations I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Away yet the gender parity. We are not throwing it away yet. We are going until we see the full paper. So don't be afraid. We have not thrown away your. Number 9.
Thank you. Is this afternoon yet? While standing on the existing protocol established, I'm J.D. Ajayi from Lagos. The crux of my suggestion will be on how do we protect the infrastructure that we are struggling to spend a lot of money to establish. The theme of this particular AGM is extremely apt. And if we can establish this infrastructure and be able to protect the infrastructure, it will not only be useful to the current generation, future generation will also benefit from it. And what happens now doesn't make people who have been in this profession for a long time happy. I will give a very short example. Many of you know that land in Lagos is extremely expensive. Practitioners like us will be employed to establish controls. And people who call themselves land grabbers may come in and destroy some of these controls already established with impunity. why we spend a lot of money establishing these controls, not only for the current users, but also for future users. Some of these things are destroyed with careless abandon. This conference, because of the aptness of this theme, may possibly set up a committee to see the implementation of how we can protect the infrastructure that we establish. And in this regard, my singular question would be to the people who presented the paper from the School of Surveying in Oyo, Dr. Lola, Professor Idowu, and the young man who came in. How do you update this system you have very carefully established and you are recommending to all practitioners all over the country? Please, not only do we advocate that we should establish this infrastructure all over the country, there must be punishment for people who destroy this infrastructure with impunity. Otherwise, we'll just be sending money like sending money into a sinking hole, and the kind of advantage we should have from them will not be realizable. I rest my case.
Thank you for that observation. How do we protect the infrastructure that spends so much money to establish? Not just that, you know the confusion it can create for a practitioner, where you know that there should be a control here and you discover that it has been destroyed. So we are going to think of policies and strategies on how to ensure that those infrastructure are protected. We take the, well, they may still have other opinion. The last question, somebody up there, number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Surveyor Durojaye Adebanjo from Rivers State University, Port Harcourt. My question goes to the author with the paper on future extraction using point cloud filtering algorithm. I'm quite aware that there are several algorithms for future extraction. In that paper, I expect the author to have given us a background about that particular model and what informed him of the decision to use that particular model. And secondly, a model must be validated, especially looking at our own peculiar environment. Then my second question goes to the man that talked about application tools for control. I didn't hear him saying anything about the type of control. Is it horizontal control? Is it vertical control? Is it first order? Is it second order? Because as you are using your application tool and you are getting close to that particular control, does your program have the capability to tell us that this control is of second order or third order based on what you want to do or the type of assignment you want to carry out? Is it engineering survey? Is it monitoring? Is it cadastral? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Those questions. Now we can hear from the presenters 2 minutes. Okay, just react to your questions.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. There are some issues or there are some suggestions made by Survey Dr. Didigu FNIS, which he said that the plan of Federal Polytechnic Oko is still in existence. And he then mentioned our former HOD, who I met when I was employed, and I have visited him several times to ask him about the plan. He said he can't find any plan as at now. So if you have come across it and you can help us, we can come to you and collect the then plan of 1986. Then you talk about Ufuma campus, that you are the one that run it. Please, you can as well assist us too with the number of survey GO Okenwa. And other observations that you made will be implemented. Now, coming to the analysis, somebody said about multi-criteria analysis. Please, it is inside the work, but because of time, I couldn't explain further. So his own observation is also recorded there. Then, another person now suggested, how do we maintain all these infrastructures that we surveyors are doing? Yeah, in our school, we have such controls, third order controls we established by ourselves through our students. Although our school has a lot of infrastructure going on here and there, but we have to tell them, look, this is what we use to guide this school. If this is not well kept or preserved, then definitely this school will be sold one day by federal government. So this is only the claim that we have. Is this survey beacon that we are seeing on the ground? So we always try to protect it, both with our students, and we go there to monitor it on several occasions and tell the school of its importance. Thank you.
Okay, the next person.
I want to react to the first question that has to do with the parameters that I used for my study. That I didn't include cartography, GIS, photogrammetry as other mapping sciences. It was for the purpose of this study because it was a research paper of a few pages which could not accommodate all these other mapping sciences. And we hope that in further studies, we are going to extend it to cartography, GIS, photogrammetry, and remote sensing as the case maybe. That is for that, sir. Then I go to the second question that talks about the mode of data collection. And I am put aback by the statement from the rapporteur, one of the rapporteur, that the paper will be thrown away. And why I am asking this question is, the abstract was submitted. I submitted at the right time. It was accepted and sent back. The full paper was submitted. Corrections were asked to be made. I made the corrections. And if at this level, I am hearing this statement after the presentation, I think it's demoralizing. Yes, I will express myself. The method of data collection was stated even in the methodology in the full paper. There is no way we could include all the institutions in Nigeria. And I did measure during my presentation that the selection of this institution were not based on any geographical region or political zoning. That the full paper was accepted and all the information are there, all the analysis are there. So I don't know what exactly the question
It's okay,
demands.
no problem. Just
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I have three questions here that are related to our topic, our research work. The first one asked by Surveyor Winston Ayeni on the accuracy of the job. Let me mention it here again. Because of time, we cannot explain everything in 10 minutes. During processing, in fact, the first thing we did was to establish a ground control points, 6 of them, with GNSS receivers. We obtained XYZ of all the points. And during processing, when we loaded the images, these ground control points were loaded, and then their information supplied for processing. And in the paper on page 7, quality report is there. We have the root mean square for XYZ in centimeters for X and Y. I think it's only in Z we have a submeter 0.1 something. I can't remember. So that's for that. And we transformed from GNSS with a UAV, we give us WGS coordinate with ellipsoidal height. And then the product, the final product, was transformed to Clark 1880, Zone 31, and the autometric at EGM 2008. Let me mention it here again. When we started, we had something in mind. And at the end, when the job was completed, honestly, it opened our eyes to so many areas that this paper cannot touch all application areas. And as we are here, somebody talked on the application of the auto photos. It's true. We generated auto photo and a 3D point cloud. But our concentration, because when you are writing a paper like this, you have the title, the aim, and the scope. We work within the aim and the scope of the job. So we concentrated on 3D point cloud processing and classification. The auto photo is there. And if you look at the application area of the paper, we mentioned that the product can be used for topographical survey, which means you can use the auto photo for it. Detailed survey, as-built survey, volume and area computation. So the applications are there, but because of time, we cannot discuss every application area. Like the filtering algorithm mentioned and validation, we have several algorithms. We only chose one. And when we completed this job, the team listed about six new topics that will be extracted from this data. The data was acquired 14th May 2022, recent one, UAV. So there are a lot of papers coming from this thing, even this validation accuracy level using different techniques. And we promise that when we get these results, we'll make the results, the findings available to us, maybe at AGM or any other forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, I don't want you people in answering the questions to repeat your presentation. Just straight to the point, because we have to leave here to go for the tea break before reconvening again at 2. Please.
Thank you very much, sir. So, concerning the reference. Okay, I should move away. So concerning the referencing of old authors, I will take note. I've taken note of that already. Thank you very much for that observation. So how do you update the system? Yes, the time did not actually permit me to explain further. A sub-program was also written under this control finder application, which can be accessed only by the administrators. So that if the moment new coordinates or new control points are established, their coordinates can be prepared in Excel file formats. The administrator of this application has the login details where he could log in and update, which is one of the good qualities of this application. So updating can be done as soon as new control points are established. And also the types of control points. Yes, this is like a pilot project for something bigger. So I did not really put that types of control points into consideration, the order. But the norm in Oyo, Federal School of Surveying in Oyo, is that when we establish first order, we say we target with FSS1, second order FSS2, third order FSS3. So what I did it with the mind that all the audience here are survey, they are from Oyo and they know the norms. So I'm very sorry about that. So I will put that under consideration. So the moment any individual click on any of the points, information considering bordering on order and other things will be displayed. The datum, the ellipsoid, and every other necessary information about the control system. So thank you very much, I think.
Thank you. Okay, sir. The next. Stay there.
Okay, please, I want to crave the indulgence of the Mr. Chairman to please permit me to really trash the three questions posed to me. Actually, I expected that question on prohibition of public practitioners to come, and I actually prepared for it. But I want to first of all make some few remarks. The first remark is that we must separate sentiments from law. Separate sentiments from law. Law is law. The second remark is that all surveyors registered by SOCON are practicing. You see, there is this conception we have that some people are practicing, some people are not practicing. It's a wrong conception. You practice in different domains, either in the public sector, or in the academic sector, or in the armed forces sector, or in the private sector. So practicing professionally is different from private practice. We mix it up. This clarity has, first of all, to be made. So we are all practicing, regardless of the sector in which we are practicing. Thank you. Now on the prohibition of public practitioners, I want to mention this. The issue started with regulated and other professional Decree 34 of 1984, which was a blanket ban on all professionals engaging in private practice. That was the decree that banned all professionals in private practice. But what happened? In 1992, you see, there was an outcry. All professionals, there was an outcry concerning that decree. And Babangida, during that time, in order to pacify the lecturers, the law lecturers, he amended that particular decree. You can cite, you can check. That's under the regulated and other professional private practice prohibition law, lecturer exempted, 1992. But under the constitutional, the present, what do you call it? No, we are now no more in, we are in democratic, sorry. Under the democratic, we reverse to the 1999 constitution. And a law, there is this, any law which, in Akinwumi versus DTSP of 1982, the court of law in Plateau State ruled that that particular decision of the constitution has to be upheld. And presently, it means even law lecturers cannot practice, they cannot practice as they used to do before by virtue of this law. Though that law is still subject to be challenged at the Supreme Court. That is the status now. Now, I want to mention some two areas. The area of the medical doctors. We talk about some maybe medical practitioners, pharmacists, and some town planners and the others that they are practicing. Why is it different from that of surveying? You see, that somebody is doing what is wrong and is not challenged does not mean it is right. So it still holds that public officers cannot practice. Then the implication of public officers practicing are two. Number one, if you prepare a survey plan and there is a litigation of that survey plan, you have no local standing in the court of law to defend that plan. Because the first thing the lawyer will ask you, are you allowed by your employer to come and stand this? That plan will be thrown away. And the client is at risk of losing that very case. That's very important, and we need to consider that very well. You see, we are not here trying to prevent some people from doing one thing or the other. But if we are talking about law, let us look at the law in the face of the law. That's the essence of this paper. That's number one question. The second question, practice. Okay, I think Sovio Wisinayeni mentioned about the word of use of practice and work. Now, when you are talking about law, word is very significant. In fact, there was a case, the place of a comma, where you put a comma, actually took a case from customary to Supreme Council because it's wrongly placed. So if you use the word practice where it's not supposed to be used, it means a different thing. So if you say technicians and technologies can practice, the ignorant public can assume that they have a right to do the work. So what we are saying is that, you see, we are critically examining the guideline. What we are saying is that that place should be amended that they can work. Nothing stops them from working under a registered surveyor. That's what I have recommended. Thank you. Number three, that's the question from Alaji. It's talking about the regulations being harmonized. We are not saying, you see, one thing about the law is that a superior law, any other law, rules or regulation must be subject to a superior law. All laws in Nigeria must be subject to the Constitution of Nigeria. And the same thing, some of our survey departmental laws, some of our association, APPS, NNIS rules and guidelines must submit to the SOCON guideline. So where there are violations, then all those ones have to bend or amend their rules to make sure that it conforms with SOCON regulation. That's what we're saying. Thank you.
I'm standing on the existing protocol. Please, I have a few questions or remarks to respond to. But I didn't present an empirical paper. That is, I didn't present a paper that went to do measurements and reports. So I want to comment on our exchanges. Our exchanges. I'm an old man in doing what I'm doing here. But when my sister stood up to say she was demoralized, sitting here or standing here is not easy. I'm well versed in this. I have traveled nations. So you can throw anything at me. I will still know that I'm the one that has the measurement. You are talking from your point of view. But I want to appeal that we make this place a lot more scientific so that people can exchange ideas without younger ones feeling if I come here now and then they run away. I'm appealing, please. I'm appealing. So that we can exchange ideas, please. It's just to make the place conducive. Nobody comes out here because he knows it all. Conferences are made for people to confer. Professionals, this is what I found. And somebody says, I don't think it's exactly so. In a courteous language. We carry ourselves with respect, with love, and we go on. Please remember, I know that as I'm talking, some of you may be thinking I'm offended with Oga Yeni. Na my Oga Tete. So, anything, he has intervened for me in situations
you have,
where...
exhausted your time to address the question. I'm the chairman, excuse me, I'm the chairman. Is the chairman who determines, address the question, forget about comments, those comments, address question so that we can progress.
Sir.
Please.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. Sorry, please. And the chairman who just spoke was my lecturer. Please, I beg. Make una save my head. I beg. So please, let me address the issue. If you go to literature on GPS all over the world, there is something called 5-second RTK. You have 30-second RTK. That is the period within which you use RTK method to receive your coordinate. It is in international literature, it's all over the place. And you can also go to the Australian guidelines that I cited here. You will see them. And when you do RTK, you are doing rain. So the system does not allow you to do least squares adjustment. You can, if you're doing an empirical study, you can arrive at what your audience will understand easiest. If I go into 2 millimeter relative uncertainty, or I talk about survey uncertainty, SURU, all those things, we are not very used to it here. Literature has not been coming. You have not been reading periodicals. So the best thing, what we did to bring it in a way that all of us will understand, was to use a new traversing method that allows us to achieve, sub-millimeter accuracy in linear and angular measurements, and then compare them as basis for the RTK derived distances, because that is what we do in cadastral surveying. In cadastral surveying, when we use GPS, we must derive the distance, because you're going to write the distance of this line, bearing of this line. When you compare it with a near zero accuracy measurement, you can determine the linear accuracy. And that's how we derived that. I think I've answered my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When you go back, you look more closely into what you've had. Go to the literature and find. Before we go back to maybe to thank them, I want to call on the two men who have worked very closely. Somebody sent a question asking what is the status of NGDI. That for years we were discussing this issue of for Nigeria, and at a point everything just looked like we have forgotten about it. And incidentally, the two professors that were driving it at that time are sitting to one another. Maybe God decided to bring them together. So immediately I got this and I just saw them sitting in front of me. I said, okay, I'm going to call them, maybe two of them or one of them. Let me start. If you have any information on NGDI, you let us know. And your colleague can add more information.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Permit me 1 second. There was a statement that people should not cite references of 1976, 1946. It is not true. For instance, spatial data infrastructure has been defined how many years ago? So when you are going to cite, to give the definition of SDI, you will quote that, not 2025. It is only applications that you look at the recent references, not fundamental things. Having mentioned SDI, I will now go to NGDI. Now, the case with NGDI, we know how it started and so on. Where it was falling, Ibitoti Lule, and where it's also where it rose up again. Now, we know that in 2003 the geoinformation policy was formulated, was done. 10 of us did that, but it did not go. It went, to the Federal Executive Council, but the Federal Executive Council turned it back that what we put there for funding was not acceptable, that we cannot ask for 2.5% of the national budget for geospatial information production in the country. So they turned it back. So, and then this was amended, but it was not returned to Federal Executive Council before the tenure of Obasanjo regime. Now, in 2009, there was another move to upgrade and then to upgrade the policy, which we did. And with that, it was now decided to actually demystify NGDI by actually implementing a pilot project, which we did. And then there was that, the website is still there, ngdi.gov.ng. You can go there using 4 organizations: OSGov, National Population Commission, Geological Survey Agency, and Cartography, National Population Commission, and one other agency, NASDA, and 4 of them. So the 4 organizations were used, and then to just test and show that it can work. And committees were set up to actually work on it. Unfortunately, it didn't also wake up from the slumber. But luckily, just last year, NASDA, which is the agency, the lead agency, plus the Geoinformation Society of Nigeria got together and then organized a stakeholders workshop, bringing everybody together, especially with also the Grade 3 program, to now prepare a draft bill. That bill was prepared last year and called NGDI Bill for Nigeria. It was to be sponsored personally by the President of the Senate, that's Lawa, and then with support of Professor Robert Borofis. So that is where it is now for the bill, because the attempt is to ensure, what we're trying to do is to ensure that the bill is enacted by the current assembly before they leave in 2023. I only hope that can be done. If that is done, then it will now be fully implemented. The problem they have for now is that they are not able to get funding for it because there is no official document backing that program up. So that is it. But the fact is that Grade 3 brought in some money for it, because when it came to Nigeria, Grade 3 is the geo-referenced infrastructure and demographic data for development. So it's a program being sponsored by EU and other organizations. So when it came to Nigeria, they needed data from a spatial data infrastructure, national one, which was not existing. So, but they had that it was NASDA that is the lead agency, so they went there, and then they decided that, okay, they will fund part of it. And that is why Grade 3's funding was used last year to bring together the stakeholders to work on this new bill. So that is where we are at the moment, and I pray that it will wake up from where. Yes, then I should just add, Professor Gbokwe reminded me that I should not forget to mention that the bill is going through legal drafting. You know, the legal people will have to look at it and see that we put the commas where it should be, and dot the I's and cross the T's. So it is with the legal people right now before it can be passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ayeni, I hope you had. Well, you want us to hear from Osgov. You can, at least you can now know the status.
You know, Prof, thank you very much. He highlighted a point which now corroborates the fact that Dr. Issa said They are in Sokoto and NIS is not there. We complain in NIS a lot, but we don't put our money where our mouth is. If that geospatial data infrastructure thing policy is passed, surveyors will be laughing to the bank. So we need NIS to partner with these agencies that have been so identified. I thank you, Prof, for this information. I knew this, but I wanted it brought out. That's why I sent that paper to you, so that we can urge our executive to do what will benefit us as a professional body. They should champion the PR, the publicity we need, the enforcing, the struggling to get documentations legally binding. I mean, like Oluborode said, we have to get things into law and policies, and NGDI is what will strengthen extra-ministerial status because it's multi and integrated. Thank you. I just wish our institution will join the other people, this tripod system, with NASDA now, that is more proactive to ensure that we get these things on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
The NIS was actually represented and SOCON as the stakeholders and OSGov, of course. And incidentally, the CD, Alabo CD Charles, was even there himself in person. He came, and the registrar of SOCON himself, plus the SOCON members who were really there, like 4 or 6, and they really were very, many of them are here. So I think they are waking up.
They have woke up. They are woken up. So we need to give it more push because 2023 is just around the corner. And if we miss it again, it means that we have to start all over. So you are pointing at me. Do you have any? Just the final comments.
Yeah, my name is Professor Raphael Hegiato from the University of Benin. I really want to make some comment on the presentation. And I want to say that this guy sitting here, it's not easy to do a research work. And these people need to be encouraged by all of us. But when we are here trying to criticize the work of somebody, I don't really like it. I want us to, anytime they are presenting, we will support them and ask questions that will improve their researches. I know, even to write a technical report, it's not easy. Somebody sat down, wrote paper, and here saying that he's demoralizing. I don't support that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's try as much as to encourage them. But they actually need this paper in future for promotion in their various institutions. Then that's number one. The second one I want to talk is on transformation parameter. I'm aware that SOCON and OSGov is okay. Okay, I'm aware that SOCON and OSGov has consulted another panel to look at the result that was produced before and how they can refine it. I'm very sure that very soon.
Thank you very much. Those two observations. I think we are going to tidy up this. We've had our presenters. They raise issues of policies about strategies that we can use.
by my lecturer. The president, vice president, who happened to be the chairman of the organizing committee, the fellow, all other members. And to my presenters, you deserve to be congratulated. You know the reason why? One speaker, he was invited to make presentation. At the end of the presentation, the whole chairs were empty. And one young man was sitting down. He was also sleeping. The presenter now said, "Oh, all the audience, they have gone. You are the only one that waited to the end." Well, he said, "No, sir. I'm waiting to pack the microphone and the speakers." Yours is not just like that. You have given us food for thought. We have listened to you. All this issue of distraction, my sister, you don't need to demoralize. It is for you to make the research better and for you to have a better presentation in future. So, to all of us, it has been a very good day. A day well spent. We have all gained. Let's also keep our hands together for ourselves. And lastly, to the members of the committee, it has been an hectic one. It's a good job and we will still continue. I want to appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. I can see that even because we have enjoyed the session, we don't even want to eat today. Can we continue? So it's a day well spent. Thank you very much, and we want to see you again during the next program by 2 p.m. Is it one?
Once again, we want to appreciate everyone. On behalf of the president at the place, just a minute, please, please, please. Please, your attention for just 1 minute more. The women in Surveying Eastern Region, they are meeting immediately after the program. NASG member, they are to meet after the afternoon section, after the plenary, at the entrance gate. They will be conveyed to where they will be having their meeting. Board of Fellows, they are having their meeting by executive members of the board. By 1 p.m., they are meeting in this hall. Please, let's rise to our feet as we take the second stanza of National Anthem as a closing prayer. We started with prayer, and God has been good to each and every one of us. We have been enjoying our days. FUT, by 1:30 in this same hall. NISFIG Commission now. Let's take the second stanza. O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Guide our leaders right. Empower you the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow. And living just and true. Great lofty heights attain. To build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. Please enjoy your meal. Enjoy your tea break. Ushers, please, you are to meet with the publicity secretary. Ushers, please. Right now.